What's up, guys? Mike Parker at the Center for OCD and Anxiety in Pittsburgh, PA, and this is OCD Space, where we talk about all things OCD. Today, we're going to be talking a little more about inference-based cognitive behavioral therapy, something I love to talk about on this channel. And we might be talking about what could be the most important concept to understand when it comes to I-CBT, which is what is an inference? A word that most of us don't know what it actually means. So let's get into it. Hey guys, happy to be back. It's been a while. Took a vacation and I've been super busy with the practice here in Pittsburgh. So it took a break, but definitely happy to be back to making these videos. Hopefully you all are really enjoying them because I'm enjoying making them. Anyway, today we're going to talk about a big topic. What is an inference? It's in the name of this treatment called inference-based cognitive behavioral therapy. And what the heck does this weird word mean? I know when I first started learning about this treatment, I didn't know. I thought, oh, inference, pretty much know kind of what that means, a conclusion or something like that. But it actually has a really specific definition that if you understand it, it really helps you kind of understand this treatment better. So what an inference is an inference is a conclusion that you draw when you don't have all the information and you need to fill in the blanks, right? And so, that's basically a situation that we're all encountering like all day, every day, right? A situation where you don't have all the information, you got to fill in the blanks. We do this like without even thinking. So, an example might be you walk out of the house and the ground everywhere is wet, but the sun's out, no rain, right? You would basically infer that, well, it must have rained while I was inside and I didn't see it, right? I'm not seeing it rain, but I can infer that it happened when I wasn't looking. That's pretty much why the ground would be wet. And so that would be a normal human inference to make based on experience, based on common sense. Now OCD, according to I-CBT, OCD, the big problem is that OCD hijacks your ability to make inferences in a certain area. OCD fills in the blanks, and OCD comes up with all kinds of possibilities and what ifs, instead of kind of like what's the most likely based on your own experience and your common sense. OCD throws that all out the window and says, well, what if, right? And so it's sort of like walking outside the house and seeing the rain, the ground everywhere is wet, and thinking, well, I'm assuming it rained, it probably rained, but what if it didn't, right? OCD wants you to think about the what if more than what's likely based on your experience and your common sense. Sure, yeah, maybe the fire department sent a truck over here to run drills and soaked the ground everywhere with water, and they just drove off. That's why the ground's wet everywhere. OCD wants you to think about that possibility, not the one where it probably just rained. So that's happening to you in a certain area, right? And the area where you're experiencing the OCD inferencing difficulties is that area where you feel vulnerable, where you've got a feared possible self that you're struggling with. You're fearful that you might be someone who's careless or someone who's prone to sin or immoral behavior or someone who's going to lose control. And so there's this future possible self that's going to be revealed that you're just constantly on guard, constantly ready to make sure, you're ready for that time when this possible self finally reveals itself. And so when you're fearing a possible self in a certain area, OCD takes over. OCD starts filling in the blanks based on these scary possibilities, and the ability to just think through things gets lost for you. So let's look at a specific type of OCD. Maybe we can get some clarity on how that works. Let's just say scrupulosity OCD. You are struggling with obsessions around your own your morality, your relationship with God or a higher being. Anything to do with your religion, when you are doubting yourself and exploring all these what ifs, that's the area where you are going to develop obsessions. And so when you think about religion and spirituality, this is an area that is ripe for OCD because you have to fill in so many blanks in this area to have a spiritual life, right? You have to develop an image of what God is or what your higher being is. You have to kind of decide, what is okay behavior to some degree. There's so much you have to do using inferencing that OCD can really completely take over in this area. You don't get to sit down with God in a coffee shop and ask God all the questions you want to ask and get answers. You're going to have to fill in those blanks to some degree, and you're going to do that by understanding, the preachings and the scriptures, and developing some sort of, kind of personal relationship or personal image of your God, and coming up with a spiritual roadmap for yourself. So that requires a lot of inferencing, and it does require a lot of common sense and a lot of trust, a lot of trusting information and trusting yourself. It's the only way to function in this area. So when that's gone, OCD does take over. And before you know it, you are never good enough. You're constantly doing excessive prayers throughout the day, going to confession more than you need to or more than is asked of you by the church, and it takes over. So an example of this would be let's just say developing your personal understanding of God is basically an inference process, right? And so we can go down the OCD route in that process, which is when OCD fills in those gaps of information, and OCD creates a God that is a very unhealthy, dysfunctional version of God for you, to the point that you can't live, right? And so OCD wants you to believe that God is this disapproving, unhappy, critical being that is just constantly criticizing you for every mistake you make, is never happy with you, wants to punish you, wants you to punish yourself. And it's all because you're just not good enough, and you can never be good enough, and every mistake you make is never going to be forgotten, right? That's the sort of God that OCD is going to create when those blanks get filled in. And it's all based on a possible feared scenario, because you feel vulnerable to this, right? Now, let's think about a different path you could go down if you start taking back control over that inference making process with your religion. You can come up with a very different God, right? A God that's loving, a God that's forgiving, a God that understands that you are human and you make mistakes, but knows that you're trying, knows that you're good. That's the path you can go down if you want to get out of that OCD dysfunctional inference making process. And that's the path that you can begin to go down. I know it might be really hard to believe this for everyone struggling with scrupulosity out there, but that's the path you can begin to go down with when you begin to trust yourself again. Trust that you're a good human being who makes mistakes, who's not perfect, but that's okay. Trust that God is a forgiving, loving being, not some demanding, never happy parent figure that OCD wants you to believe God is. if you start to trust your experience, trust your observations, trust the information you've been given, and ultimately trust your common sense again. Learn to use it again, and learn to think through these things in a way that's fair to yourself again. That's what this treatment is all about. It's using that same healthy inference making process that you're really using everywhere else in your life just fine, just not in this area. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. I hope this adds to your understanding of what an inference is and why it's in the name of this treatment. Once you understand that definition, I feel like it actually helps you really understand what I-CBT is all about. Anyway, I hope this was helpful to you all. Little by little, I hope you're all making little steps towards getting your life back from OCD and getting out of some of these horrible stories that OCDs caused you to be believing and living in. And until next time, guys, trust yourselves and take care.